it's kind of what what a writer does when they want to make their argument, make more sense. And how might someone use logos in a piece of writing? You can implement facts, statistics, expert opinions on your topic. You can use real life examples, or you can use a factual anecdote. And an anecdote is basically a story. So you don't want to use like just a regular anecdote for logos. It has to be, factual. It has to have some kind of truth to it. Logos is all about facts. It's all about numbers. I think of it as the easiest way to implement logos is, facts and statistics. So if your topic, let's say, for example, is about why dogs are the best pets, you can use a statistic like from a study that's like, 80% of people say that dogs are the most well-behaved or something like that, like just a simple statistic can really, boost it because it makes it more persuasive. When you have actual facts and numbers in your essay, in your evidence, then your reader will be like, oh, I see what they're saying. Okay, they have logical facts to back their argument up. They know what they're talking about. So these are just some examples about how someone might use it, but there's so many other ways to use it. These are just a few examples. So just remember, logos is logic. It's the facts. It's the common sense kind of appeal, All right, next we got pathos, which is the appeal to emotion. And pathos is used to stir feelings in the reader, such as happiness or anger, and it's based around emotion. So pathos, emotion. Pathos is pretty easy to implement. I use it a lot. I know a lot of, my classmates use it a lot. It's probably the kind of easiest to just stick in because, emotions exist everywhere. Everyone kind of has emotions that can be appealed to and make them really feel. And so how might somebody use pathos in an essay or a piece of writing? So they might use loaded words or language, or really positive or negative sounding words, such as like really happy words like exuberant, or really negative like can't think of one right now, but like something really sad, like sadness. They might use a short anecdote, short story that plays to an audience's emotions. So something really happy, sad, angry, and appeal to senses by including, vivid sensory details like your five senses, so your taste, smell, hearing, touch, sight, anything that can make the reader feel. So we'll do an activity later based on, these appeals, but the thing is, pathos is I think the most simple way to use pathos is just make it sad. When you're talking about, someone passing away, or children, people use children all the time to evoke pathos because, when you see a child in pain or hurt, or, not in a really good living situation, that really, really affects people. Meanwhile, when you see maybe an adult go through the same things, it's sad, but it doesn't have the same effect as, as if like, a child is going through the same thing. So, sadness is probably the most easy way to go, but pathos is just any emotion. Just think any emotion is okay. And last, here we got ethos, which is the appeal to credibility. So it's based on character, credibility, and or the reliability of the author. So basically, it's the appeal to yourself. Even though these are all used to persuade your audience more, ethos is mainly about the author. So you want to build your credibility with your audience. Because, for example, let's say you're talking about, let's say, a personal experience, I'm going to use the example we had in our first lesson, the role model essay. So if you're writing a, essay about your role model, you have to show through your writing that you know this person really well. You have to use, personal like stories and facts and like just things that show that you know this person, because if it sounds like you don't know the person, then you don't sound very credible. They're not going to really believe you if you're just kind of making up generic things, stories that don't really tell you about the person you're writing about. You want to make sure that you're reliable. You're saying things that you can actually say. You're not just making stuff up on the spot. So how might somebody use ethos? They might make the audience believe that the author is reasonable. So you might sound willing to listen or compromise. And then demonstrates the author's knowledge, credibility, or expertise of the topic. So let's use another example. If you're writing a essay about the effects of a certain type of new medicine or a drug on a group, you have to make sure that it sounds like you know what you're talking about, because such like a scientific topic as that, if you don't know what you're talking about, you're not going to sound very credible. You're not going to sound believable, and then in turn the audience doesn't really believe your argument. It makes you lose credibility. It makes you lose persuasiveness. Another part of ethos is demonstrating that you know the readers and respect them. So you're kind of acknowledging the audience, you kind of know who you want to talk to. So if you're writing, that essay about, a new type of the effects of a new drug or medicine, maybe your audience is like the scientific community, like well-respected, researchers, doctors, scientists. You want to make sure you kind of know them. Of course, you're not going to know them like personally, but kind of know what their goals are, what they want to hear, and make sure to respect them. And this appeal focuses more on the author, not the topic, as I said before. You really want to, ethos is all about your credibility. It's about what you say that makes the audience believe that you are knowledgeable about what you're speaking about. Last one we got is kairos. And just a disclaimer, kairos isn't used a lot. It's kind of like that thing where like if you can fit it in, it's great. Like kudos for you, but honestly, it's not used a lot. I just put it in here to make sure. I just want you guys to know that it exists. I've only used it in a few essays, and my teacher didn't even teach it to my class until we were kind of in the middle of the year. So kairos is timely appeals, the appeal to timeliness, and it refers to the opportune time and or place that is, the right or appropriate time to say or do the right or appropriate thing. So it's all about, you've heard of the expression, the right time, right place. It's kind of like that. So how might somebody use kairos in a piece of writing? So it creates the right time, season, or opportunity. And what this means is that, so for example, I don't know if you ever heard about this, but seasonal depression, I think it's called depression or seasonal something. It's when during the winter months, someone feels really, sad or maybe kind of depressive, just they feel down because of the bad weather. So if you're talking about something like, if your essay is something on like, how does about happiness, or how does, our world, the world around us, affect someone's happiness, then you can kind of use like, let's say it's winter, you can kind of use this seasonal depression disorder, to really back up your argument because it's timely, especially if it's winter. I remember last year, I don't know if you guys know about like the whole college admissions scandal with, Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman, but, if you were writing an essay about, maybe college admissions and the, kind of the scandals and the unfairness of the whole process, then you can, okay, it's not like a good time now, but, a year ago, it would have been a great time, I think of it as kind of like, it's kind of luck, kairos. You kind of have to, it's luck. It really, it's not up to you. It's up to, the outside world. So if you're writing an essay on something, and something, like something current events or something in your life that happens, right around the time that you're writing the essay, that's really timely. That's like the perfect time for you to incorporate what's happening in the real world, in your real life, into your essay. But you know, if something's not really happening in your life that relates to your essay, you can't really use kairos. So it's kind of like a luck thing. It's kind of, that's why people don't use it a lot. I just want you guys to kind of know about it because you can use it, but it's not really super well known. It also as I said before, utilizes trending stories to give impact to content. So maybe, you know, recent news around the world, and it acknowledges importance of setting the context. So yeah. So let's do a short activity. Let's see what you know or have learned. So many advertisers or news sources will use rhetorical appeals. It's not limited to writing. You know, many advertisers also use it because it persuades their audience. You know, advertisers, they have to know their audience really well to get people to buy or like take action against something, a cause, you know, they need to persuade them. So, okay, I'm going to show you a series of pictures, and every time a new picture pops up, you know, please type in the chat or, you know, turn off your mic, and just type what you think the picture represents, logos, pathos, or ethos. I didn't do kairos because it's really hard. Advertisers don't often use it unless it's like very, very specific to a certain cause. For example, let's say like coronavirus and the pandemic. But you know, I just didn't add it because it's not super common. But yeah. So ready? All right, this is a progressive ad. If you read the ad, you should kind of get an idea of what rhetorical strategies. So anyone have any idea? Eric, very good. It's logos. You can see flow right here from progressive is comparing, you know, actual numbers from, you know, that's progressive. That's, you know, versus State Farm, Nationwide, and Family. And you see that they're the lowest number. They got the red, green light there, and green light means go most of the time. And you know, you can see the numbers. You should think numbers is logos, basically. All right, great job. Next one. This is an ad from the car company BMW. All right, very good. Pathos. As you can see, it's supposed to, you know, evoke, you know, emotions from people. As you can see here, it's, you know, a normal foot and then a prosthetic. And you know, spare parts for humans are not as original as those for cars. Don't drink and drive. So you know, this person maybe got in an accident. And you're right, Derek, could be Kairos because, you know, car accidents happen all the time. But, you know, the main point of this was pathos, I think. You know, it makes people sad to see, you know, someone lose a limb because someone was drinking while driving. So yeah. All right, we got this one. It's David Beckham. If you don't know who David Beckham is, he's a very, very well-known soccer player, and he's promoting the watch Rolex. So I put this one here. It's kind of, you know, a trick kind of question, I guess, but you know, I just kind of wanted you guys to see how other ways ethos can be used, you know, especially in the advertising world. So it is demonstrating ethos. Yes, Derek, because he's a professional athlete, his area of expertise is obviously not watches, it's soccer. But when advertise that's why so many people, you might see so many celebrities promoting certain companies. I know the Kardashians promote sugar bear hair, which is like a hair vitamin, even though they don't know anything about the product. They didn't make it, they didn't produce it. They seem credible because they're so well known, they're celebrities, everyone knows them. So when advertisers pay so much money for these celebrities to endorse their products, because they think that once the general public kind of sees this person promoting this object, they're gonna say like, "Wow, David Beckham wears Rolex watches. Maybe I should get one too." Like, like people are more likely to buy something because although they seem more credible, these celebrities, they're really not. But it's kind of an advertising trick. It's just a industry thing. It's kind of smart actually. Here we got one from Pop Chips. It says less guilty, more pleasure. Logos. As you can see, there's a lot of numbers down here. They're comparing, other companies is maybe Lay's, let's say they have fried chips. They're saying, wow, they have so many fat, carbs, protein, and fiber. And, kettle style chips from these other companies also have a lot of each thing. But, look at Pop Chips, less fat, less carbs, you know, around the same protein. Well, protein's good for you. And, good fiber, there's just, and for, as you can see, another tactic they're using is they only put a tiny amount of fried chips and kettle style chips, and only this many, of these chips is already equal to these nutrition statistics. And look at how many chips you can eat, and you only ingest 3 grams of fat. You can eat almost like double the amount of chips, and it's only 100 calories. They're really using the numbers. A lot of food companies will do this. They know people who are trying to lose weight, people are trying to eat healthy. Well, they'll look at nutrition labels, and although they might not be knowledgeable, less, like a lower number or a lesser of a number doesn't guarantee that it's actually healthier. But food companies kind of use it because it's effective advertising. Right, let's go to the next one. So this one's from the Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police. All right, yep, ethos. As you can see, this lady right here, she's saying, I am a neighbor, a friend, a mentor, a sister, and a Tennessee law enforcement officer. She's specifically using the word I. So she's kind of like relating herself to, yep, she's saying that she is credible because she is a Tennessee law enforcement officer, but she's also all of these things. She wants you to associate that although she is a law enforcement officer, she's also all of these good traits. Everyone wants a good neighbor, a friend, a mentor, a sister. They want, this advertiser wants people to see that law enforcement, although they got to do their job, they're also all of these things. And the I am kind of ties it all together. And ethos, you'll kind of, since it relates to the person a lot, you might see I a lot, but I recommend to not kind of put it in your essay. It's kind of hard, but if you have to use I, never say I think or I believe. But a great way to establish ethos in your essay is to kind of tell a personal story somewhere in your essay. Or, ethos is just simply sounding like you know a lot about your topic. People, if they read your essay, if it's like a research kind of paper on a, more on a topic that requires more, research and studying, then as long as you sound like like you know what you're talking about, that can be kind of ethos. It doesn't have to be a specific thing you have to put in. you know? All right, here's the next one. It's from Save the Children. He's so sick he could die before you get to work. Yep, it's a lot of pathos. It shows, a crying baby, it's obviously in pain or really sad. And it says right here, no child born to die. That's their kind of their slogan, their catchphrase of this company. And I also put this here because you can also see they kind of combine things. If you see this uh, writing here, a baby like Nirav dies every 6 minutes in Bangladesh because healthcare is out of reach. Right now, you can give $5 to build a life-saving clinic. It's kind of they kind of use logos too because they're saying every 6 minutes a child dies, and that's a lot of pathos, but it's also a little bit of logos, and it's just showing you how often that this occurs, and it's not fair. It's really bad. No child should die every 6 minutes because 6 minutes is not a lot of time at all, and kind of this advertiser kind of doubled up on the rhetorical strategies. I think this is the last one. So it's Dog by Pedigree. Oh, yep, it is logos. I'm sorry if it's hard to see. If on my screen you can see, I think you can see. It's kind of saying everything that is good for the dog. Here it says, its skin and coat. You can kind of see it's very healthy right here. You can see the fiber, essential oil, vitamin E and C kind of circling it. It's just kind of saying, it's just kind of talking about how all of this dog food. Pedigree is a dog food brand. How all of like how their food is just so good for the dog, and it's talking about how it's good for its digestion and its healthy skin, and it's just a very healthy dog because of their food. It shows a happy dog. I guess that could be kind of pathos. Just remember, you can always combine, rhetorical strategies. The most effective essays kind of do all three: logos, pathos, and ethos. Kind of sounds difficult when I'm talking about it now, but I promise it's not that hard once you get used to it. Yep, that's logos. And here's some more examples. I just wanted to see you in I just kind of wanted you guys to see it in like word form. I just showed you what I just showed you was picture form. So some more examples is the animal shelter desperately needs your support. It is overflowing with lonely little kittens who spend their days meowing and whimpering and staring forlornly out of their cramped crates. This one is obviously pathos. Um, it's talking about it. And these are kind of the words that I was talking about earlier that really make people feel. The pathos. The lonely and the whimpering and staring forlornly and cramped. That you can just kind of imagine it. It paints a picture in your head of these poor little kittens. In this horrible, crowded animal shelter, and it makes people feel sad. Um, and the second one is I deserve the position because I worked faithfully for the past 30 years. I always go above and beyond what is expected of me. I was even selected as Employee of the Month. This is obviously ethos because it builds on this person's credibility. They're saying they deserve the position because they worked faithfully for the past 30 years. That builds credibility, it makes you believe what this person's saying more because it's backing up with personal facts. And they also go above and beyond what is expected of them, and were even selected as Employee of the Month. The last one is according to a study by CNN, 28% of teenagers report that they can manage without a TV. This is logos because, one, because of the 28%, that's a statistic, that's a number. And, whenever you kind of hear according to a study by blah, 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 that's most likely logos because they're kind of they're kind of quoting a specific source, which is usually a statistic, a fact, a number. So yeah. All right, to wrap things up, here's just kind of a pyramid. I think logos is logic and reason, pathos is emotions and feelings, and ethos is kind of credibility and ethics. So what I think of it as, remember as kind of like this. Logos is to strengthen your message to your reader. You're giving more facts and statistics to build up your message. That's what kind of what logos is for. Pathos is for your audience, the emotions that you're trying to evoke in your essay, in your piece of writing. It's for the audience. It's supposed to make your audience feel. I mean, you of course might feel too, but you're trying to persuade your audience with pathos more than yourself. And then ethos is for your authors, for yourself. You're trying to establish your credibility so that the readers can see what you're trying to say. All right, let's go over quickly some more commonly used strategies. You probably have kind of heard of these already. So we have analogies, similes, and metaphors, which are all kind of the same thing. Similes and metaphors are a type of analogy. Analogy is basically a comparison between two things, typically for the purpose of explanation or clarification. The simile is the comparison between two things that has the word like or as. So her hair is like silk, or her hair is as soft as silk. You're comparing the hair in silk. And a metaphor is a comparison without the word like or as. So you would just kind of say her hair is silk without the like or as. So I know this is like kind of the first thing you kind of learn, maybe I think I learned in middle school or late elementary school. So how exactly is this effective in your writing? So it allows you or you, the writer, to convey vivid imagery that transcends literal meanings, creates images that are easier to understand and respond to than literal language. So when I say her hair is like silk, you can imagine maybe a girl with really beautiful, luscious hair that's like silk. You can kind of like imagine it in your head. It's vivid imagery, creates images that maybe are easier to understand than literal language. If I just said like her hair is soft, maybe that builds a picture in your head, but like, it's kind of boring. It's kind of lackluster. You kind of want it creates, imagery. It's easier to understand than maybe just literal words. And then, you hear personification and hyperbole. Personification is the attribution of a personal nature or human characteristics to something non-human, or the representation of an abstract quality in human form. So something like lightning danced across the sky, or the wind howled in the night. Lightning obviously can't dance and wind can't literally howl, but they're effective because it connects readers with the object that is personified, and they can make descriptions of non-human entities more vivid, and they can help readers understand, sympathize with, or react emotionally to non-human characters. So if I think I once read a book that was kind of from like the point of view of a tree. A tree obviously can't be human or have human features because they're not alive exactly, but it really helps. All of these kind of help with creating an image with inside the reader's head, or connect them to it. So it doesn't seem very effective, but it makes your writing so much more colorful and just more effective and better. And a hyperbole is an extreme exaggeration. So if you say something like, I have a million things to do today, or it's raining cats and dogs, you don't literally mean that. So it's effective because hyperboles emphasize the magnitude of something through exaggerated comparison. So you're just kind of emphasizing just how much you have to do, or just how hard it's raining, just it's for emphasis. A lot of rhetorical strategies, they're either to persuade, to connect, or to make a picture inside of the reader's head, or to emphasize. Those four things, that's kind of what all rhetorical strategies do, even though they're all very different from each other, but they kind of all work together to emphasize, make your point more effective. So imagery, it's visually descriptive or figurative language, especially in a literary work. But it's not limited to just being visual. Anything that kind of stimulates a reader's senses and allows them to create a picture in their minds is considered imagery. So the whole simile, metaphor, personification, that is kind of a type of imagery because they all kind of create a picture in the reader's head. So here's an example from a poem. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. As you can see, it used a lot of descriptive words like golden, lake, breeze. You can kind of like imagine like this beautiful, beautiful field of golden daffodils, and there's a breeze, and there's a lake, and it's just really pretty. Imagery is kind of used by poets a lot. In their poems, they use it to describe a setting, but it doesn't have to be used as to describe a setting, but that's kind of how it's used. You can do anything with imagery, anything you want. So how is this effective? Well, it can make something abstract like an emotion or theory seem more concrete and tangible to the reader. By using imagery, writers can evoke the feeling they want to talk about in their readers, and by making the readers feel, writers can also help readers connect to the messages in their work. So if you're maybe in this, I'm not sure, but maybe in this poem, they're trying to, have a literal meaning or a literal theory or emotion. If they talk about this beautiful field, it's, more concrete, and it kind of connects the reader to it more, it kind of makes sense more, especially if it's like a complex kind of point. Right, then we have anecdote, which we've kind of talked about a lot. It's just a short, amusing, or interesting story about a real incident or person. So, anecdote, don't make it up. It should be something that happened maybe in your real life. Someone else you're really close with, like their life. I'm not gonna read this really long example, but you can kind of read it yourself. It's just a kind of story. It says because it's personal. It's a in story about what you experienced. So how are anecdotes effective? They're effective in persuading an audience because people, they naturally love stories and they can learn from them. That's why, so many people, read bedtime stories to kids, to make them listen and learn. And you can better persuade an audience with an anecdote that has, carefully crafted concepts behind it. And you can also use anecdotes to lead up to your main point or thesis in your introduction, like we talked about in our first class. So it just kind of it adds a lot because one, people enjoy stories. I know I really enjoy stories. And it can, build up to a main point or kind of um, lead up to it. So yeah. So here's some more complex rhetorical strategies. You might not use them maybe till high school. So hypophora is basically when the writer asks a question and then immediately answers it in the following sentence. An example is from Barack Obama's State of the Union address. So, for example, he says, "So, what does our middle class economics require in our time?" That's a question. And then, first, middle class and economics means helping working families feel more secure in a world of constant change. Ask the question, directly addresses it in the next few sentences. So basically he uses this because it's effective, because it enables the speaker to anticipate the listener's concerns and then address them within the context of, in this example, it's Barack Obama, so his own speech. He's when a lot of people use this in maybe speeches. A lot of presidential candidates or people in the higher political world, they use it because they want to let their audience know that they know what their concerns are. They know what they know what Americans concerns and worries are, and they want to let them know that they know them, and they want to and they Barack Obama wants to let these people know that how he's going to fix their concerns and worries. So it kind of helps helps the audience to believe in the speaker more, and maybe um, his ideas helped him get more votes, perhaps. And then a rhetorical question, which is a question that is asked not to get an answer, but instead used to emphasize a point. So this is a quote by Frederick Douglass. He was a strong abolitionist, so he fought for the freeing of slaves. Must I argue the wrongfulness of slavery? Is that a question for Republicans? Is it to be settled by the rules of logic and argumentation as a matter beset of with great difficulty, involving a doubtful application of the principle of justice, hard to understand? Rhetorical questions are usually asked in a lot in a row, so he just did three in a row right here. Um, as you can see, unlike hyper he doesn't answer it. He just keeps asking questions. It's effective because it provides you the reader with a way of control. Well, you the writer with a way of controlling the speech and the thoughts of an audience. And they're especially useful in engaging the audience and causes your reader to think about your point. Because why would you ask, question after question if you didn't want to emphasize your point? It makes your audience really think about why you're asking these questions. All right, and then we have anaphora. And anaphora is a group of words or a word that is repeating at the beginning. So always remember it's the beginning of two or more successive sentences. So either two sentences in a row or more. And it's a type of repetition. And repetition is just, repeating a group of words or a word multiple times. So this is a quote from a speech by Winston Churchill. He was the Prime Minister of, the United Kingdom during World War II. He says, "We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills." He says "we shall" a lot, and he's saying, and he uses it because it's effective, and it's to create an anaphora is used to create emphasis. It serves the purpose of delivering an artistic effect to a passage. It's also used to appeal to the emotions of the audience in order to persuade, inspire, motivate, and encourage them. So anaphora is very easy to kind of implement. It's what I use a lot. It it's it's kind of really effective because it really really emphasizes and makes a point. Why would someone be repeating the same word over and over and over for like so many sentences if they like why are they doing that? It's to make a point. No normal person would repeat so much of this if it wasn't for something effective. So Winston Churchill is saying we shall fight. It's Another thing he's using here is the word we, which is also very effective. He's saying we as in me and we, like we as a collective. We is a very powerful word. Instead of saying I, he's saying we. So he's saying all of us must fight in France. All of us must fight to win against, Germany. We must all, be strong and fight for our country and our cause. It's to really emphasize, and it really, well, in this context, it really gets people's patriotism up, and it makes them feel more, inspired or motivated. And that's kind of all the rhetorical strategies I want to go through today. There's many more, but they're not too common, I'd say. And thanks for watching. Any questions, you can email me at this email, and I'll see you next week. We'll be discussing, the specifics of an argument essay. So what special things an argument essay has that a normal essay doesn't have. So yeah, all right. Thanks. Thanks for watching, guys. How do I stop? Okay. Hello.